Hello everyone, this is your friend Shinobi Nexus 2.0. Welcome back to the channel. Enjoy the fanfic. And let's begin. Part 5. Shukaku charged in with a mixture of rage and just for the hell of wanting to kill something. Shukaku closed the distance much quicker than one his size should, then swiped with both of his paws several times, failing to land a single hit. Naruko easily ducked and dodged each swipe, though was slowly being pushed back, edging towards the group of ninjas behind her. Shukaku, getting annoyed, stopped his relentless onslaught and prepared to fire a jutsu at point-blank range. Futon. Rinkuden, Shukaku called out before shooting a giant sphere of wind at Naruko. Naruko, seeing that she won't be able to dodge in time, as Shukaku released the attack at point-blank range, used her tails to cover her front and braced for the attack. The attack hit Naruko straight on and pushed Naruko back several meters, forcing Kakashi and the rest to jump back to avoid being flattened by Naruko. Looking through her tails that are still covering her, Naruko saw Shukaku preparing to fire another one. Send one of your own. Dodging it will put the others in line with attack, Kurama told Naruko while quickly sharing a memory with her on how to do the jutsu. Futon. Rinkuden. Both Naruko and Shukaku called before shooting out a giant sphere of wind. The two attacks hit each other dead on, creating a shock wave sending dust and sand everywhere. Kakashi and the group had to cover their eyes from the wind and sand that was sent flying towards them. As soon as Naruko sent the jutsu flying, she quickly dashed to her right and circled Shukaku so she could draw the fight away from the group. Shukaku saw Naruko emerging from the dust and was attempting to flank him. Shukaku followed Naruko. She stopped when she had circled, so she was on his side. Reaching the flanking position, Naruko sent another sphere of wind towards Shukaku. Shukaku sent one as well to cancel out the attack. The two attacks hit each other dead on again, making the area explode, once again sending dust and sand everywhere. Naruko emerged from the dust, charging at Shukaku at a high speed. Shukaku sent multiple spheres at Naruko. Naruko zigzagged between the almost continuous streams of attacks Shukaku was sending her way. When Naruko reached Shukaku, she sent a left hook aimed at his face. Shukaku moved his head back just in time, letting the punch sail in front of his face. Shukaku raised his left paw before catching Naruko's arm and forcing it to the ground. Then he sent a right punch and hit Naruko straight in the face. Naruko followed the punch, allowing it to turn her around. Using the momentum of the punch from Shukaku, Naruko span around and used a few of her tails to hit Shukaku across his face. The tails connected hard, sending Shukaku skidding on his side away from Naruko. Naruko skidded to a halt after skidding a few meters and got ready to charge Shukaku again. This fight is on a whole new level, Sasuke said with wide eyes after watching the exchange between Naruko and Shukaku. No human can fight like this, Sakura said, not seeing how any human can go toe-to-toe against this. Only a few have been able to. The Sandaime in his prime being one of them, Kakashi said, staring expressionless at the fight. Kurama, how do we get Shukaku back into the seal? Naruko asked, not wanting to fight too long as it will no doubt start to heat up and destroy the area. By making him, he needs to learn who the boss around here is, Kurama replied. That's fine and all, but we need to do it quickly. This battle will level up and put the others at risk, Naruko said, not wanting her friends to end up as collateral damage. I have a better idea, Minato called out. Father? Naruko asked, partly forgetting that he was there. You forgot about me already, how sad, Minato said, crawling into a ball, acting all depressed that he had been forgotten. Both Naruko and Kurama sweat dropped at this before getting him to tell them his plan. If you look closely, you will see Gaara on top on Shukaku's head. All you need to do is hit him awake and Shukaku will be forced to retreat back into the seal, Minato explained while Kurama shook his head while calling himself an idiot. Naruko smirked as she knew what needed to be done. With her plan, Naruko charged Shukaku as soon as she had her eyes on where Gaara was located on top of Shukaku's head. Naruko once again had to zigzag past the volley of attacks Shukaku was sending her way. Naruko sent one herself a few times to cancel a few of the attacks that she couldn't dodge. Naruko took a fair bit longer to reach Shukaku due to him sending a lot more attacks and more precise. Though Naruko did eventually get in close enough to land a few strikes. As soon as Naruko got close, Shukaku shot an attack at point-blank range again. Naruko, reacting quickly enough this time, sent a diagonal right uppercut hitting Shukaku's straight in the jaw and diverting the attack just past her head and up into the sky. Naruko followed through with the uppercut, lifting Shukaku so he was standing on two legs. At the same time, Naruko wrapped a tail around each of Shukaku's back legs and pulled them out from under him. As Shukaku was falling backwards, Naruko used the rest of her tails to wrap and pull apart Shukaku's front legs. Naruko used her paws to shove Shukaku's head down onto the ground hard and pinning his head down to the side before looking straight into his eye with a hard dominate glare. "You will not torment this child again, or you will have me to deal with. Do try to get along because you aren't going anywhere anytime soon," Naruko said, a dual voice with a growl, making Shukaku nod submissively. Naruko used the tip of one of her tails to slap Gaara across the face, waking him up. Naruko's tails released Shukaku's limbs and sat down on her hind legs. Shukaku was forced back into the seal when Gaara woke up, causing his Biju form to dissolve back into sand. Gaara slowly stood up while holding and shaking his head, trying to clear the fog clouding his mind. Once Gaara stood up and cleared his mind, he saw a giant orange-red fox sitting in front of him. Naruko looked down at Gaara with a reassuring smile and look in her eyes. "Who are you? What happened?" Gaara asked. The last thing he remembered was a searing pain in his head before everything went black. "You won't recognize me like this, but I am Naruko and I am just like you. As to what happened, Shukaku was released and I forced him back. He shouldn't be bothering you anymore," Naruko replied. Gaara's eyes went wide slightly before returning to normal. "You're that strange girl. Just like you?" Gaara asked in an emotionless tone. "Yes, I am that girl and I'm strange," Naruko said with a tick mark on her head. "You know what I mean when I say I am like you," Naruko said in a calm tone this time. Gaara saw his siblings appear from behind Naruko along with Kakashi and his team. "Gaara!" Temari cried, running to Gaara and hugging him with all her might. Kankuro also ran to Gaara and placed a hand on his shoulder. What surprised Gaara the most was that his sand didn't react like it normally did. This was the first time he had been hugged by anyone, as everyone was attacked by sand when they got too close, including his family. "Does that mean you are a?" Gaara asked, but not finishing his sentence. "Yes, I am a Jinchuriki," Naruko finished Gaara's sentence. Sasuke and Sakura would have asked about it, but they would wait for the right time before bringing it up. "I can see the doubt and disbelief in your eyes. Though I am now friends with him and have friends, it wasn't always like this. I was alone, left to fend myself for the first 5 years. I am still hated by my village, only a few accept me for me," Naruko said. "How did you do it? What gives you the strength? Why is it that you have someone where I am alone?" Gaara asked. "I never gave up. I always believed that I would find a friend. It's the love I have for my friends. Someone once told me not too long ago that only when it's for the ones you care about that your true strengths show," Naruko answered while Gaara looked down at the ground. "Gaara, you are not alone. You have me, and most importantly, the closest people to you are the ones in front of you. Cherish them and protect them with your life," Naruko said, looking at Temari and Kankuro. Gaara looked between Kankuro and Temari, who stopped hugging him. Gaara saw the sincere smile on Temari and Kankuro. "You were never alone, Gaara. We were always there for you no matter what. We will always love you," Temari said, hugging Gaara again before pulling away when she finished speaking. "Love?" Gaara asked. Tamari nodded, knowing that it wasn't a word Gaara would hear often and that it was never towards him. Gaara looked up to Naruko, who also nodded her head. Gaara looked down and saw Naruko holding out a fist in front of him. Gaara looked back up to Naruko before looking back down again at the fist. Gaara made a fist and lightly placing against Naruko's fist. Gaara's eyes went wide before going back to normal and giving a small smile. In a flash of flame-like chakra, Naruko returned back into her human form, her fist still connected to Gaara. All eyes went wide for a few seconds at Naruko turning back. Holy shit, that's cool, Kankuro commented to himself. Naruko suddenly took several sniffs before turning her head to face a random direction and sniffing a few times again. Kakashi-sensei, I can smell the cage and it's not the strange smell that Oryx something had, Naruko said, pointing in a direction. I can smell death as well in about 7 different scents. What should I do? Naruko asked after giving out more information. He might still be alive. You go investigate and we will meet you in Konoha, Kakashi said. Naruko made a bunshin which turned into an eagle and quickly flying off in the direction of where the cage was. Naruko, full speed, and I mean full speed. We should arrive in Konoha in 2 days. When you find him, don't stop, just head for Konoha, Kakashi said. Naruko nodded. When Kakashi said full speed, Naruko quickly removed all of her weights and was done by the time Kakashi had finished talking. After nodding, Naruko turned towards the cage's direction before turning into a fox and bolting at top speed. The only thing everyone else saw was dust after Naruko nodded. When the dust cleared, there was no trace of Naruko, not even the trail of dust that should be left behind from her running. Everyone except Kakashi went wide-eyed at the disappearance of Naruko. Holy shit! How fast is she? Kankuro shouted slightly. She is one of the fastest people in our village, Kakashi said while the group headed for Konoha. With Naruko reached where the cage was in a matter of seconds. There were 7 bodies in total, all at the bottom of a canyon. The smell coming from the canyon was enough to almost make Naruko empty her stomach. The memories she got from the eagle she sent earlier told her that no one else was around, at least above ground. Naruko could hear a faint heartbeat and followed it to the source. Naruko found the cage sitting up against the canyon wall, barely awake and breathing. Naruko saw a lot of blood underneath him and on his clothes. Naruko rushed to his side after changing into her human form. Who is teeth there? Shish. It's me, Naruko. Don't speak, you need to save your strength. I will get you to Konoha as soon as I can, Naruko said quickly before changing into a fox and using a tail to pick him up gently onto her back and secure him here with a few tails. The cage had passed out after Naruko had picked him up. Naruko jumped out the canyon before bolting to Konoha as fast as she can. Naruko had ran for a full day straight, and only after 19 hours did she slow down until she was running at about 75% of her top speed. Her training had really paid off. She was barely tired from running even after fighting Shukaku. Just before she reached the gates of Konoha, she turned into her human form and the cage on her back for the rest of the trip, which took a few minutes. When she got the entrance, she left a bunshin to explain what happened to the guards before rushing off to the hospital. The sun was barely up when she arrived at Konoha and there were only a few people waking, including the 2 green spandex weirdos Naruko sees almost every morning. Naruko releases a strong burst of her chakra, hoping she can get the Hokage's attention. After a few blocks, she releases another burst and repeats after another few blocks. This will hopefully really get the Hokage's attention and show him where she is going. This no doubts get the attention of several other ninjas around. When she arrives, she sees 2 Anbu land in front of the hospital along with the Hokage. Along the way there, she notices a few other ninjas landing on the roofs around, checking out what was going on after feeling several strong chakra bursts. Seeing someone on Naruko's back, the Hokage directed her to an emergency room while calling for the best medics in the village to report to him. After getting the case cage into care of the medics, Naruko and the Hokage waited outside the emergence room for any news. Naruko, what happened and where is the rest of your team? The Hokage asked in a serious but caring tone. Orochimaru. I don't know what happened to the case cage other than that he may have been ambushed. I don't when or how it happened. As for the first hour of the trip back, the case cage was with us. Suddenly he injected Gaara with something and the case cage peeled his face off. That's when Kakashi-sensei said that he was Orochimaru. After a few problems I found the real case cage and brought him here. As for the rest of my team and the team from Suna, they will be here later this afternoon sometime. Naruko told the Hokage what happened. As soon as the Hokage heard that name, his eyes went wide before he shook his head and released a long sigh of disappointment. I see. I will get the full report when they return, and see what happens from there, the Hokage said after hearing Naruko's debriefing. Gigi, I have some things to say, but it can wait till later. Half of it will be said during the report, Naruko said, wanting to speak with him later. The Hokage nodded and wondered slightly what it could be as Naruko said it in a serious voice that she doesn't rarely use. An hour later, the light above the door switched off, signaling that they were finished. A single female doctor walked out the room, making the Hokage and Naruko stand up. He is very lucky. An hour later, and I'm sure we wouldn't make it. Otherwise, he is fine and stable. He just needs rest and should wake up around tomorrow sometime, the doctor said, bring a breath of relief from Naruko and the Hokage. Though with the damage he sustained to his lower spine, he may never walk again, the doctor said a bit sadly. Is it that bad? The Hokage asked. Yes, his entire pelvis was crushed, his spine has multiple fractures and were dislocated in a few places. We did what we could, but his walking days are no doubt over, the doctor explained further. I see. After the coming Chunin exams we will have to find Tsunade Hime and see if she can do anything. For now I want him guarded 24/7, the Hokage said before leaving, with Naruko following behind him, leaving 2 Anbu guards to protect the case cage. Tsunade Hime, who is that? Naruko asked. One of the legendary Sannin, like Orochimaru but nowhere near as evil, the Hokage answered as they left the hospital. Sannin. I heard Kakashi-sensei say that, Naruko asked. They used to be my students when they were genin. During the Second Shinobi War they earned the name Konoha no Densetsu no Sannin. They became renowned heroes for ending the Second War, the Hokage explained. But why would Orochimaru do something like this? Naruko asked. Power, immortality and loss of life can change a person. In his search for this he lost his way in his research, the Hokage said in a sad, pained voice. Hearing his tone, and she chose not to press on as she knows that it might bring up some unwanted memories. Later that afternoon near sundown, Naruko had quickly reported to the Hokage's office after being told that Kakashi had returned along with the team from Suna. Naruko arrived just in time to see Kakashi walking into the Hokage's office. Naruko just in time, Kakashi said, seeing Naruko arrive and walk in with him. For the next hour everyone told the Hokage what happened from the start of the mission right till the end. The Hokage was told everything from the training to Naruko's date of becoming human during the new moon to her turning back the next day. They also said that Orochimaru attacked right after Naruko changed back into a Hanyou. As well as that Gaara is the container of Shukaku and the battle that took place between Naruko and Shukaku. Naruko then filled in the part of her finding the case cage in more detail. So you turned into the Kyuubi and it wasn't your shape-shifting ability, the Hokage asked after hearing that Naruko turned into Kyuubi to fight Shukaku. Yes, I did, Naruko said, looking like she wanted to say something else. I see. I can see you want to say something, and I take it you have a reason for holding back, the Hokage said, seeing Naruko starting to get a bit nervous and is holding back something. Sorry guys, but Gigi, can this next bit please be in private? Kakashi can stay but the rest, Naruko said, looking at her teammates who nodded understanding. Thought the Suna trio were a little confused but didn't press on. The Hokage nodded and everyone except Kakashi and Naruko left the office. The Hokage took a seat before taking a puff from his pipe and exhaling smoke from his mouth with a sigh. So what is it that you want to say? The Hokage asked, looking at Naruko, while Kakashi was also looking at Naruko. I guess it's best I show you. Naruko while bring a hand up and made a half-Tora hand seal making a single cage bunshin making both Kakashi and the Hokage raise an eyebrow. The bunshin slowly started to shapeshift starting from the bottom and working its way up. When the transformation was complete, Kakashi's single eye went very wide and froze. The Hokage's pipe dropped from his mouth while he froze as well and stared with wide eyes at the person in front of him. Next to Naruko stood the Yondaime Hokage with a smile on his face. He turned his head and smiled when he saw Kakashi. You have grown into a fine man, Kakashi, Minato said before turning to look at the Hokage. Well, it seems like you've taken back the seat. Guess Jiraiya was true to his word when he said he wouldn't become Hokage, Minato said with a chuckle. Yondaime-sensei, the Hokage and Kakashi said at the same time. Naruko heard Kakashi say sensei and made a mental note to ask about this later. How? The Hokage asked, not knowing how this was possible. When I sealed Kyuubi in Naruko, I created a failsafe should she ever try to open the seal. I sealed a part of my soul along with Kyuubi's inside Naruko, Minato explained. As to how I am here, as Naruko's doing. Her chakra is what's keeping me here, Minato explained further. Even so, I can't stay here forever. Even with her chakra, I can only stay here for 2 months max, Minato said sadly. I understand, but it's still great to see you again even if it's the last time, the Hokage said, and Minato nodded in return. Kakashi, I deeply thank you for looking after my daughter. You are more precious to her than you realize. She sees you as a brother, a precious brother, so protect her like any older brother would protect her little sister. Be the brother she always wanted. Be the brother she needs you to be, Minato said softly when he was standing in front of Kakashi with a hand on his shoulder. It's the least I can do. I won't fail you like I failed them. It goes without saying, I will always be there and will also be a brother to her, Kakashi said in a rare happy tone. Kakashi ni, Naruko said softly with a smile. Kakashi, you need to let go of the past. It wasn't your fault, so don't be hard on yourself. Remember them and they will forever be in your heart. It's time you look to the future, time to guide the new generation and pass on the Hanyou, Minato said to Kakashi while looking to Naruko at the end. It's great to see you again, sensei, but please excuse me, I need to get some fresh air, Kakashi said with a bow before walking out the room. He still hasn't moved on, but in time I'm sure he will. Minato sighed while patting Naruko's head gentle, and the Hokage sighed himself, hoping that Minato was right. How long is it until the Chunin exams? Minato asked. 5 days, the Hokage answered. Well, Naruko, tomorrow your training starts, Minato said with a grin, making Naruko grinned as well. Minato dissipated into smoke while Naruko headed out to find Kakashi to ask him a question that's been on her mind since Naho. Naruko had to follow his scent as he wasn't home. Near Training Ground 7, Memorial Stone. Naruko followed Kakashi's scent which led her out the village. Naruko was wondering what Kakashi was doing all the way out here. Naruko saw that the sun had at most a few minutes before it disappeared behind the horizon. Landing on a branch looking over a small clearing in the forest, Naruko saw Kakashi standing in front of the memorial stone. Naruko could sense Kakashi's state from where she was. Naruko landed and walked until she stood next to him. The two remained in silence for a while until Naruko broke the silence. Kakashi ni, is this why you were late all those times? Naruko asked as she could tell by smell that he come here often. It's the main reason, yes, Kakashi replied. Do you want to talk about it? Naruko asked, hoping she can help sometime. No, not really, but in time if you still wish I shall tell you my story, Kakashi said, not wanting to talk about his past just yet. Only tell me because to want to. Not because you feel that you must. Promise me that at least, Naruko said, shaking her head, as she did not want to force this on Kakashi. It's a promise, Kakashi said with small smile. Kakashi ni, I have been wanting to ask you something for some time but haven't had the chance, Naruko said softly. Kakashi hummed out. Can I move back in with you? I feel quite lonely without Naho. And it's way too quiet for me, Naruko asked before giving her reason, softly, missing the joy of going home and someone there to be with you. You are always welcome. I never quite knew why you moved back in the first place, Kakashi replied, looking at Naruko with an eye smile. Well, seems quite the stupid reason now. Well, I guess I will get settled in tomorrow. Though you don't mind me crashing in for the night? Naruko chuckled at first before asking with a soft smile. You better. Never really wanted you to live on your own in the first place, but a certain group of people forced our hands. To say that the Hokage and I were unimpressed is putting it lightly, Kakashi said, deciding to give her little choice in the matter. Thank you, Naruko thanked softly while Kakashi gave her an eye smile. The next day Naruko spent the morning moving her things to Kakashi's house and tried to sell her apartment that the Hokage got for her, but of course, being who she was, it might take a while before someone is brave enough to buy the apartment. Kakashi said that Team 7 can have the day off to rest before they started training the next day. Sasuke and Naruko, being Sasuke and Naruko trained anyway, they were even surprised when Sakura showed up and joined them for training at their usual training spot. During that train, Naruko made do on her promise and taught Sakura how to land without a sound. Naruko had Sakura train her flexibility by doing all kinds of stretches for a longer period of time than normal. Naruko often had Sakura stretching in rather awkward positions and some rather suggestive positions, making Sakura blush and wonder if Naruko was trying to pull something every now and then. Naruko said that this will take time and lots of training. Naruko told Sakura to do these stretches before and after she trained, and that she should run every morning first thing in the morning, and that running during training doesn't count. During the afternoon, Naruko spent time being trained by her dad. Naruko was given a set of books on Fuin Jutsu that she was told to study. During the training, Naruko learned how to do the Shunshin no Jutsu. Thanks to her Bunshins, Naruko was also trained with Kurama and learning how to better control her Biju form. Kurama and Naruko worked on how to control the different forms that she can use. She was told that there were 3 forms in total. Naruko mostly trained on how to summon and control separate limbs without going into full Biju mode. The next day, the Kazekage woke up, being a relief to his children, Naruko and the Hokage. The Kazekage said that the Orochimaru intend to use his village to aid Otogaku in attacking Konoha during the final stage of the Chunin exams, with Gaara being the trigger. The Hokage ordered a council meeting in which he informed them of the incoming invasion. The ninjas currently out on mission were told to finish their mission ASAP and return to Konoha. The Hokage along with Shikaku and Ibiki made plans and preparations for the incoming invasion. The next 2 days, Team 7 trained hard for the upcoming Chunin exams. Instead of doing her lightning Shishitsu Henka training, Naruko worked on controlling her Biju form. Naruko took a step further and managed to change any part of her body into Kurama at will before she started working on something else in private from her team during the afternoon. At the end of the second day, Kakashi told them that they are not to train at all for the last 2 days, especially the second day, as that's when the Chunin exam starts. This was aimed at Naruko and Sasuke, as he knew that they would want to train. To make sure, Kakashi confiscated their weights. End of the second day, 2 days left till exams. Hey Naru-chan, wait up, Sasuke said, running to catch up with Naruko. Hey Sasuke-kun, what's up? Naruko asked, stopping and turning towards the incoming Uchiha. So would you like to go on a date with me tomorrow? Sasuke asked with a smile. Why yes, sure, I would love to. Naruko accepted happily with a small blush. Great, I shall pick you up tomorrow morning at 9, Sasuke said, setting the time. 9. So it's a date, and Sasuke, I live at Kakashi-ni's house now, Naruko said, letting him know she has moved. That explains why your apartment was empty, Sasuke said, remembering that he waited for Naruko this morning and found that her apartment was abandoned. So I will see you tomorrow at 9, Sasuke said before running off somewhere. Naruko walked home with a smile on her face. She was really looking forward for tomorrow. When she got home, she saw Kakashi sitting on the couch reading, but for once not his orange-prevented book. Instead, he had a few scrolls lying around him while reading the one that was in his hand. Kakashi was sitting on the floor against the couch. Naruko took off her sandals before she entered the house, leaving her barefoot, and walked to the couch Kakashi was sitting against. Naruko softly sat down on the couch, crossing her legs, and looked over Kakashi's shoulder to see what he was doing. Kakashi-ni, what you reading this time round? Naruko asked. Just studying a few things here and there. Also trying to find more stuff to teach you lot. It's not easy when you learn everything in a few months instead a year that it's supposed to take, Kakashi said, and ended with a grumble. We are just that awesome. Though I hope you have some things for Sakura more so than us, Naruko said, knowing that Sakura feels like she is falling behind. It's no wonder she feels like she is being left behind. She is very talented and has the best chakra control I have seen since Tsunade Hime, but her lack of chakra makes her feel like she is up against titans when she compares herself to you and Sasuke, Kakashi said. Though thanks to you she doesn't feel as intimidated and wants to do her best to try and catch up, Kakashi said while turning to look at Naruko, who was sitting behind him on the couch. I did what I could to help. I have been helping where I can, Naruko said with a smile back to Kakashi. So when is the date? Kakashi asked with a grin and an eye smile. How do you know? Naruko asked, stuttering a small blush. I didn't not know until you walked in. It's written all over your face, Kakashi said, chuckling a bit. Is it really that obvious? Naruko asked, feeling a bit embarrassed. Well, it's obvious that something has got you rather happy. So when is the date? Kakashi said before repeating his question. Tea tomorrow at 9, Naruko said, turning away from Kakashi slightly. That's rather late, don't you think? Just don't get to anything too naughty, Kakashi said before grinning at the end. Ni-san, pervert, Naruko shouted, blushing hard, hiding her head in her knees. And it's in the morning, Naruko said softly, still hiding her face. Well, have fun and hope it goes well, Kakashi said, standing up. Well, good night Naru-chan, I am off. Just try to keep your voice down tonight, I am rather tired and wish to sleep, Kakashi said, walking out the room. Naruko's face went a deep shade of red before throwing a pillow at Kakashi and hiding her face again, feeling every embarrassed. Kakashi ducked under the flying pillow, noting that it might have hurt if it actual hit him. Kakashi quickly disappeared into his room, not wanting to know what happens next. Next morning, Naruko was a bit too excited to sleep but still managed to get a good night's rest. Naruko had woken up early and took a long warm bath before freaking out a bit, not knowing what she should dress into. Hoping that it was like the last time, Naruko put on her normal clothes but without her vest and weights, thanks to Kakashi taking them from her in order to stop her from training. Naruko also decided to keep her hair down like she did for the last date. Naruko sat nervously in silence on the couch and waited for Sasuke to arrive. Half an hour later, the long-awaited knock finally come. Naruko walked to the door and opened it with a big smile on her face. Morning Naru-chan, Sasuke greeted happily. Sasuke-kun, Naruko replied happily. Shall we get going? There is quite a bit to do, Sasuke said, holding out his arm. Naruko gladly linked her arms Sasuke and walked with him, every excited for her date. The two walked around the village between the different stores before coming to a stop at a clothing shop. Naruko saw the rather fancy clothing in the store and turned to Sasuke in confusion. We need to get you something formal for the reservation I booked for lunch, Sasuke said while walking into the shop. Sasuke felt Naruko's nervousness of walking into the shop. So he pulled her closer to him to reassure her. You don't have to worry, I made sure to find a place that you could go to without any hassle, Sasuke said, which calmed Naruko down. Naruko really took it to heart when Sasuke said he took the effort to find a place knowing her problem she has with most of the shops. Good morning, how may I help you? A woman asked from behind the counter. Naruko looked at her and saw that she really didn't have the same look the rest gave her, which brought a small happy smile to her face. Could you please help her find something for the lunch we have at Riverside Lodge? Sasuke asked. Oh my, that's quite the place you are going to. I'll make sure she has something for the occasion, the woman said before guiding Naruko to a section in the store with all kinds of kimonos, dress and all other things Naruko had never seen before. Sasuke shouted he would be back in about 10 minutes before leaving the store. An hour later, after settling on a dress Naruko liked and changed into after Sasuke had insisted on buying it for her. When Naruko walked out the changing room, Sasuke silently gasped with a deep blush on his face. Naruko also had a blush on her face seeing Sasuke in a black tuxedo. Wow! Sasuke said, speechless. Naruko has her hair down and is wearing a black strapless dress. The dress hugged her body well, showing off her great figure and curves. The dress also did little to hide her well endowed and showing off a decent amount of cleavage. The dress was a slightly fitting around her legs that reached her ankles. It was still tight enough that you could still see the shape of her legs every so often as the dress waves a bit round her legs. Naruko is also wearing black gloves that reach to the middle of her biceps and a pair of not so high heels. You're really beautiful, Sasuke said softly, admiring Naruko's beauty. Thank you, you're rather handsome yourself, Naruko thanked with a blush before returning a compliment of her own. Sasuke blushed before hold out his arm again, to which Naruko gladly linked her arm around. The two walked out the shop and made their way and arrived in time for their reservation. Naruko gasped at the place they were at. We are having lunch here? Naruko asked. This is like the best place in Konoha, Naruko said, knowing from all the talks and rumors she has heard that this is the best restaurant around. Yep, we are. Hope you enjoy it here, Sasuke said while walking into the restaurant with Naruko. The two ate a very tasty meal while taking about the upcoming Chunin exams and what they think they will be tested on and how. During the dessert they shifted the topic to about themselves and talking about a few of the mission they have been on. After lunch Sasuke took Naruko to a movie. It was the new movie of Kazuhana Koyuki. Both Sasuke and Naruko enjoyed the movie but laughed a few times at the badly done ninjutsus they used. After the movie they both walked to and around the park talking, laughing and enjoy each other's company for some time and realized that it is almost sunset. Wow, it's almost sunset. Time really does fly when you are having fun, Sasuke said looking at the slowly forming orange horizon. Hey Sasuke, follow me, I want to show you something, Naruko said before leading Sasuke somewhere. Top of the Hokage Monument. After a while they were at the top of the Hokage Monument overlooking the village. Sasuke gasped at the view. Naruko smiled before letting go of his arm and jumping down the monument and landing on top of head of the Yondaime Hokage. A bit surprised by the jump, Sasuke soon followed Naruko and jumped down, landing next to her. Naruko sat down hugging her knees and staring into the view. Sasuke sat next to her and really took in the view. Sasuke looked over the village with the sun setting in front of the village in line with the main entrance. The sky was a mix of orange and red with light peeking through the forest that is in front of the village. I never knew about this place, Sasuke said, really finding the view beautiful. It's amazing, Sasuke continued. It is amazing. I found this spot a long time ago shortly after I was kicked out the orphanage. I've been coming here every night ever since, Naruko said, agreeing before saying how she found the spot. I often come here when I need to escape, Naruko said with a small smile. Naruko, I don't wa. Sasuke started to say, feeling like he should invade this spot of hers. No, please, I want to share it with you. It's the one place I feel safe and at peace, Naruko said, using a tail to stop Sasuke from leaving. Sasuke sat back while Naruko wrapped a few tails around his waist. Thank you for sharing this with me, Sasuke thanked before shifting a bit so he could looking into Naruko's eyes. Naruko looked back into his eyes, earning a small blush on her face. It must have been quite the decision to share this, to place your trust in me like this. Sasuke said softly, really happy that Naruko was willing to share a place like this with him. HMMMPH, Naruko hummed, shaking her head. I wanted to, it really wasn't hard for me to decide, something just told me to, Naruko replied softly with a smile. Naruko blushed, deepened seeing Sasuke's face so close to her, and then it happened. They both leaned forward, their lips meeting halfway while Sasuke brought his hand and gently placed it on her cheek. Naruko felt like she could melt as the kiss deepened, full of passion. Naruko melted into the kiss, wrapping her arms around Sasuke's neck. Her tails wrapped around Sasuke, trying to pull him closer. Sasuke melted and settled into the tails, wrapping all around his body. Sasuke brought up his other hand and placed it on her other cheek, cupping her face gently while enjoying the feel of her soft, warm lips. They both felt themselves heat up, enjoying the warmth of their bodies pressing against each other. Eventually, they were forced to pull back, ending the kiss to get a breath of air. They had no idea how long they kissed for, only that they enjoyed every second of it. Naruko's face was hot and flushed from the breathtaking kiss. Naruko remained dazed for a few seconds before coming back to her senses. Sasuke's eyes remained closed, praying that when he opened them that it wasn't all a dream. He finally opened his eyes and looked straight into the eyes of Naruko. Sasuke released a breath that he was holding, happy that it was all real. He could still feel Naruko's tails around him, holding him, scared that he might leave her. Sasuke smiled, bringing her head closer to his, reassuring that he is here to stay. Naruko felt her heart skip a beat when he smiled, and his eyes full of passion, warmth and life. She returned a smile full of emotion. Hoping for the best, Naruko went in for another kiss, pushing Sasuke over a bit. Sasuke was a bit surprised kiss, but quickly returned it while letting Naruko push him back so he was lying his back on the monument with Naruko on top of him. Sasuke used his tongue and ran it across her lips a few times. Naruko opened her mouth and allowed his tongue to explore her mouth and tongue. Naruko released a cute soft moan at the pleasure. Not wanting to be outdone, Naruko wrestled with Sasuke's tongue and one, allowing her to explore his mouth. They both moaned while releasing the kiss for another breath of air. Wow! Naruko moaned out, short of breath. That was, Naruko started to say. Amazing! Sasuke finished the sentence for her. Naruko smiled while cuddling into his chest and her tails now wrapping around both of them. Sasuke held her closely, enjoying the warmth of her body. They both remained like that for a long while, enjoying the company and closeness. Sadly, it come to an end when Naruko started to fall asleep. Sasuke gently stopped her from sleeping. We should get going, Sasuke said, sitting up while Naruko remained against his chest, not wanting to move yet. Sasuke smiled before rubbing her head gently. Hearing her purr, Sasuke let her stay like that a bit longer. Within minutes, Naruko fell asleep with a bright smile on her face. Sasuke gently and slowly picked her up, trying not to wake her up. Sasuke carried her, holding her close to him, and jumped down the monument and took her home. Sasuke walked at a slow pace, wanting to draw out the moment as long as possible. Sadly, he reached the door to Kakashi's house. Sasuke gently woke her up before letting her down on her feet. Naruko kept her arms around his neck and tails around him. Naruko leaned in and gave him another long kiss before pulling back for air. Thank you, Sasuke-kun. I couldn't have asked for better time, Naruko said softly while resting her head on his chest. I wouldn't have it any other way, Sasuke said softly while wrapping his arms around her waist. So are we officially, or do you still want some more time? Sasuke asked. The only thing I need more time of, is time with you. And yes, we are official, definitely official, Naruko replied. Well, you better get used to spending time with me because I am not letting you go, Sasuke said, releasing the hug. I can definitely get used to it, Naruko said with a playful grin. Good night, Sasuke-kun, Naruko greeted, giving him short kiss. Night, Naru-chan, said, giving Naruko a quick peck on her lips. Naruko released Sasuke from her tails and walked into her house before closing the door and resting her back on the door, holding her urge to squeal like a schoolgirl. Naruko went to bed with the biggest smile on her face, feeling the happiest she has ever been. HMMMPH, Naruko moaned happily while opening her eyes. Naruko took a little longer this morning to get ready. Walking out the room with a slightly bounce in her step and tails happily waving from side to side, Naruko saw Kakashi sitting on the couch reading a scroll again. Ohayo Kakashi ni, Naruko greeted happily while walking past Kakashi to get something to eat. Ohayo, I take it that the date went well, Kakashi asked, looking up at Naruko. Perfect, Naruko said with a happy sigh and sitting next to Kakashi with a bowl of cereal in her hands. That good, huh? Kakashi asked while still reading the scroll. I've never felt like this before. It feels, Naruko said softly before trying to think of a word to describe what she is feeling. Indescribable. Kakashi finishes the sentence for her. Yay, it's indescribable, Naruko sighs happily. I told Sakura and left a note for Sasuke telling them that team meeting is at 10 today, Kakashi informed Naruko. At 10? When does the Chunin exam start? It's supposed to be today, right? Naruko asked, not knowing how this works. Yes, but it only starts at 3 this afternoon, Kakashi says while getting off the couch. So late? Naruko asked, surprised that something like this starts so late. It normally starts at that time. I'll meet you at 10, I have some place I need to be, Kakashi said before walking out the door. A few minutes later, Naruko walked down the stairs and saw Sasuke waiting for her at the bottom of the stairs. Naruko smiled brightly when she saw him and walked up to Sasuke. Ohayo Sasuke-kun, Naruko greeted happily. Sasuke responded by cupping Naruko's face gently and giving her a breathtaking kiss. Naruko's eyes widened from the surprise kiss before she closed her eyes and melted into the kiss while wrapping a tail around Sasuke. Ohayo, Sasuke greeted after ending the kiss. Naruko flattened her eyes open before looking deeply into Sasuke's eyes with a small smile on her face. Wow, I can get used to that, Naruko said softly, still somewhat dazed from the kiss. We still have an hour till team meeting, do you want to do anything? Sasuke asked. Just relax at the training ground, Naruko answered. Sure, Sasuke says before taking hold of Naruko's hand and heading off to the training ground. Naruko had a small blush on her face when Sasuke took her hand. Naruko used her tail that was still wrapped around Sasuke to pull him closer to her and wrapped a few more tails around him. I hope I didn't make you wait too long. I did take a bit longer to get ready this morning, Naruko said while turning her head to look at Sasuke. No, I was a bit late myself, Sasuke replies, shaking his head. Why did you go to the wrong house again? Naruko teased. Haha, I just overslept a bit, Sasuke says, defending himself a bit. Couldn't stop dreaming about me, Naruko says in a slightly seductive voice. Yep, Sasuke replies back smoothly, making Naruko giggle with a small blush in return at Sasuke's forwardness. Training Ground 7. Sasuke sat underneath a tree with Naruko resting her head on his shoulder. They had currently been there for about half an hour, just enjoying each other's company and talking very now and then when Sakura had arrived for the team meeting. Sakura had a small cry of jealousy in her. She had accepted that she might never get Sasuke, but there was a little jealousy that she never got with Sasuke. Most of her jealousy was due to that she didn't have someone to love or to be loved by. Sakura walked with a small genuine smile, happy that Naruko had found someone knowing the hard life she had. Sakura really hoped that she too would find someone. You two seem a lot closer today. Did anything happen yesterday? Sakura asked with a smirk, seeing the two cuddling each other. Yeah, we went on a date yesterday, Naruko answered happily and sending a glance to Sasuke. And, don't leave me hanging here, share some details here, Sakura said while leaning in, wanting to hear more. Well, first he bought me a lovely dress, then took me to Riverside Lodge for lunch, Naruko started saying. Riverside Lodge? But that's like the best place to go, how did you get a reservation there? Sakura burst out, looking at Sasuke. The owner was my dad's best friend and best man. He knows me well, so I asked him for a favor, Sasuke explained softly. You know the owner? Wow, that's just wow, Sakura said, surprised that Sasuke knew someone like that and was partly jealous she wasn't the one dating Sasuke. So are they as good as everyone says? Sakura asked, knowing that she won't be going to a place like that anytime soon. I only have one place to compare with, but they did have really amazing food, but I was sad that they didn't have ramen, Naruko said happily but pouting near the end. Ramen? Really? Ramen? Sakura deadpanned. She knew Naruko loved ramen, but this was ridiculous. You go to the best restaurant around and you want ramen, Sakura said, still deadpanning at Naruko. No, I didn't want ramen, I was just sad that they didn't offer ramen, Naruko said like it was no big deal, which made Sakura sweat drop at Naruko. Besides your ramen addiction, what else did you do? Sakura asked, wanting to get back to the topic of Naruko's date. We watched the new movie Fuenheim. It was a good movie, but the ninja adaptations were really funny, Naruko said with a laugh near the end. And what else? Sakura asked again. We walked around the park till around sunset, where I showed Sasuke the best view in the village, Naruko said, and resting her head back on Sasuke's shoulder. I know there is more, Sakura says, no doubt knowing what happened. I had my first kiss, Naruko said softly with a blush. Ah, how cute, Sakura squealed, making Naruko blush harder and avoid eye contact with Sakura. So that's what you meant by perfect, Kakashi said, appearing from nowhere. Kakashi ni, Naruko said, feeling embarrassed, while Sakura got a bit of a fright of his sudden appearance. So here are the forms for the Chunin exam. If you wish to enter, write your name and hand in the forms to room 301 at the academy by 3 this afternoon. Only you can decide if you want to enter, Kakashi said, handing out forms and disappearing in a swirl of leaves. What do you think the exam is going to be like? Sakura asked. Sasuke and I think that it might be something similar to the academy and genin test, Naruko answered. We'll have to wait and see. Sakura, are you going to enter? Sasuke asked. Yay. I feel like I can do it. But I will be honest, if Kakashi hadn't trained us like he did, I don't think I would have entered, Sakura replied. I know you can do it, Sakura, Naruko said, standing up shortly, followed by Sasuke and Sakura. Guys, let's make a promise. No matter what happens, we will always be a team, so let's do this together as a team, Naruko placing her hand face down in the middle of them. Team 7, Sasuke said, placing his hand on top of Naruko's. Team 7, Sakura said, placing her hand on top of Sasuke's. Team 7, Naruko finished. For the next 2 hours, Team 7 remained in the forest, coming up with possible scenarios and how they would deal with them as a team. They also came up with plans for when they needed to fight, as they knew they no doubt will. Naruko suggested that they arrive early so they can scope out the rest of the attendants, so they know who to keep an eye out for. And so Team 7 headed for the academy. Few blocks away from the academy. Boss, a voice called out. Team 7 turned to the sound of the voice. Konohamaru, Naruko said, seeing who it was. Boss, I did it. I ran 5 laps around the village, Konohamaru said excitedly. Hey, don't forget us, we did it as well, a girl his age said next to him. Yay, so did I, another boy next to Konohamaru said in a rather monotone voice. Oh, and who you too? Naruko said looking between the new friends of Konohamaru. Udon, the boy answered. Moegi, the girl answered. And we are the Konohamaru Corps, all three of them said. Konohamaru Corps, so you can run 5 laps around the village? Naruko asked. Naru-chan, who are these kids? Sasuke asked, followed by Sakura asking the same thing. Naru-chan. Yo boss, who is this? Konohamaru asked. These two are my teammates Sakura and Sasuke-kun. Sasuke-kun. Sakura, this Konohamaru, he wanted me to train him, so I said that until he can ran 5 laps around the village I won't train him, though these two seem to have joined in on this, Naruko said, introducing them to each other. Sasuke-kun. Boss, is he your, you know? Konohamaru asked before pausing and showing his pinky. Yes, he is, Naruko said proudly while clinging on to Sasuke's arm, who blushed slightly. Ah, Moegi squealed softly with a small blush. Well, you don't seem like much, Konohamaru said after inspecting Sasuke. I think he's cute, Moegi said softly, making Konohamaru roll his eyes. Listen kid, I don't care what you think of me, Sasuke said plainly. Yay. So boss, train us. Konohamaru dismissed Sasuke with the wave of his hand before demanding to be trained by Naruko. Sasuke's eye twitched at the casual dismissal. Oh, I will train you all right, but sorry Hamaru-chan, it's the Chunin exam now, so you will have to wait until after the exam, Naruko said while patting his head affectionately. Konohamaru blushed a bit at the nickname and affection before nodding. I can't train you now, but for now double the laps around the village, Naruko said, not leaving them with nothing to do. Yes boss. All three said, saluting. Good luck boss, show them what you're made of, Konohamaru said, holding his thumb up. You bet I will, Naruko said, also holding up her thumb. Konohamaru and his gang said goodbye before heading off. Practicing to be a Jonin instructor already, are we? A new female voice said from behind Team 7. Team 7 turned around and saw their new Suna friends walking towards them. Gaara, Temari, Cat Guy, Naruko cheered, happy to see them. Hey, I have a name you know and it's not Cat Guy, Kankuro complained, to which Naruko just stuck her tongue out playfully. Please don't tell me you are also entering the exam, Temari said with a bit of false hope while the group headed for the academy. You bet I am, Naruko replied with a grin. Temari just shook her head while mumbling something about this not being fair. Gaara, how have you been? You getting alone with Shukaku? Naruko asked Gaara. I have been much happier thanks to you. I don't know if we are getting along, but he is talking and not trying to drive me mad, Gaara answered. That's good to hear and it will only get better from here, just don't give up, Naruko replied. It's good that you two are talking. Just remember he is just like any other living being with emotions and thoughts of his own. Deep down he is like us, lonely, judged and mistreated for something out of his control, so you should also keep that in mind, Naruko said, placing a hand on Gaara's shoulder. I see. Thanks for that, I will be sure to remember it the next time we talk, Gaara says while thinking over what Naruko has said. We shall meet you inside. We going to stay here and see who else is entering this exam, Naruko says when they reach the entrance of the academy. Well then, see you soon, Gaara says before he enters the academy along with his siblings. For the next 2 hours Team 7 sat in a nearby tree and take note of all the genins that are entering the exam. They take note of a few teams, one being a team of Otogakur, which got Naruko's blood to start boiling. Another team from a Megakur, Sakura said, remembering the symbol she saw. Naruko was happy to see that Hinata, Shino and Kiba were entering as well. The rest they just ignored as they seemed rather mediocre and not worthy to take note of. Naruko wasn't surprised to see Team Asuma arrive as late as they did, but half expected Shikamaru not to enter at all. Then again, Naruko knew his mother, so there was no doubt he was forced to enter. Naruko saw another team from Konoha to enter, and unlike the rest, this one did catch her attention. She was sure that the one in green is the one she sees most mornings with his dad or brother. She didn't know which, as they looked exactly the same, except one was an adult and the other was the kid who was around a year older than Naruko. Naruko decided that they would follow them, in which made Sasuke raise an eyebrow at Naruko. Who has your attention in this group? They don't seem like much. Sasuke asked, following Naruko, who jumped down from the tree. The kid in green. I see him most mornings while I go out for my daily hunt or run, Naruko answered when Sakura landed on the ground herself. He trains hard, really hard every morning like I do, so make sure to keep an eye out for him, Naruko says while walking into the academy. When they turned the corner on the second floor, Team 7 saw the room 301, which they realized that there was a genjutsu up in the area. Walking in closer, Naruko saw the kid in green get punched hard, knocking him to the ground. Sasuke, don't say anything about the genjutsu, it might thin things out a bit, Naruko said, knowing that Sasuke will mostly likely say something about the genjutsu, to which Sasuke nodded. You don't need to punch him like that, the green kid female teammate said, helping him up. No, I don't, but I felt like it, one of the two guys guarding the door said. They were about the same age as Naruko, maybe a bit older. You're mean, please just let us through, she asks politely. The guard that spoke brought his hand and swung it to strike the girl across the face. Naruko vanished and reappeared between the girl and the guard, and catching the guard's arm with her right hand. Everyone had wide eyes at the sudden appearance of Naruko. The girl and the guard were also very surprised, the guard more so at how Naruko had stopped his attack effortlessly. It's not polite to hit a girl you know, especially one that is essentially your comrade, Naruko said with a growl. The second guard dropped onto one of his hands before swinging around and aiming a kick at Naruko's head. Naruko was about to block it but stopped, seeing the kid in green step in for her. The kid in green also suddenly appeared next to Naruko and stopped the kick with one hand. This surprised a lot of people again, as this kid was just being pushed around like a rag doll just a few moments ago. He's fast and strong, blocking a kick like that. Yay, keeping an eye on him was a good call, Naruko thought, analyzing the green kid. He's almost as fast as Naruko, Sasuke thought, agreeing with Naruko now that they should look out for him. Thank you for defending my team. It's only right I repay the same kindness, the green kid say, making Naruko smile at his attitude. And I agree with her, it's rude to strike a girl, let alone your own ally, the kid said. Seems you have proven yourself worthy, fine, we will let you through, the guard said, standing back up after his leg was released and the other guard also dropped his hand. No need, this isn't the correct room, Naruko said softly, only letting the guards and the green kid along with his teammates to hear. So you noticed, the guard said. Yay, including your henge, Naruko said softly, only so the guards can hear and making their guards' eyes go wide. I should go now, Naruko said, walking off to her teammates. Hey, you wait, what are your names? A voice said that wasn't the girls or the green kids. Team 7 turned around and saw the person who had spoken along with the girl and kid in green. The person who spoke is a boy a year or so older than Naruko, who has long brown hair with white pale eyes that reminded Naruko of Hinata. The boy is wearing a Konoha headband on his head, a light brown short-sleeved shirt with a high collar and brown short pants and blue shinobi sandals. His left arm and leg is completely covered in bandages. The girl on his left has brown hair tied into two buns on the sides of her head. She is wearing a pink sleeveless shirt with a darkish green pants that go down to her shins and blue shinobi sandals. The kid in green is on the right of the first boy. He has black hair in a bob style with a white shiny section going around the crown of his head. He is wearing a full-body green spandex with his blue Konoha headband as a belt and blue shinobi sandals. Both of his arms are covered in bandages starting from his knuckles on his hands up to elbow. He has orange shin guards on his legs going from his knees to his sandals. Aren't you supposed to give your name before you ask someone else's name? Sasuke asked, not liking the attitude of the Hyuga. You guys are a bunch of rookies, right? How old are you? The Hyuga asked. I don't have to answer you, Sasuke replies. Please forgive my teammates' unyouthful kindness. My name is Rock Lee and this is Ten and Hyuga Neji, the boy in green said. Pleasure to meet you, Lee-san. I'm Uzumaki Naruko. This is Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura. Naruko introduced herself while wrapping her tail around Sasuke's waist. Ah yes, Sakura-san. Let's go out together. I will protect you with my life, Lee said, holding his thumb up and smiling with his glistening teeth showing. No way, you're lame, Sakura deadpanned, making Lee become depressed. Sakura, that was harsh, Naruko said, sweat dropping at the harsh rejection. Sasuke, I challenge you to a spar, Lee said, challenging Sasuke. Lee. Fine, whatever, we will wait for you by room 301, Ten said, leaving along with Neji. Sure, Sasuke said, a bit confused by the sudden challenge. Your youthfulness shines bright, Lee said before getting into a stance. Wait, you mean now? Sasuke asked, seeing him getting into a stance. Yes, I want to spar now, Lee says, nodding his head. Sorry, Lee-san, but it's the exam in a few minutes, there is no time. After the exam I will take you on your challenge, Sasuke says, apologetic. I see. I wish to challenge you and test myself, Lee says, releasing his stance. If you really want to challenge yourself, fight Naruko. She is much stronger than I am, Sasuke says while taking and holding Naruko's hand. Then I wish to test your youthfulness too, Lee said, looking at Naruko. Oh, I will show you my youthfulness, Naruko exclaimed with a grin before Lee ran off. Entrance to room 301. Team 7 got to the door of room 301 and saw Kakashi standing in front of it. I had no doubt all three of you would come, go on, good luck. Be sure to win me some money, Kakashi said before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. Okay, Sakura said, confused a bit. Did he just place a bet on us? Naruko asked with a twitch in her eye. Looks like it, Sasuke replied, also a little confused but shrugged it off. Naruko opened the door and walked in with her team and saw that the room was filled with people. Naruko could feel that Sakura was being intimidated by all the people looking at them, so placed a hand on her shoulder to reassure her. Sakura turned to Naruko and sent a thank you smile to her. Naruko returned the smile while gently squeezing Sakura's shoulder. Looks like we aren't the only rookies here, a voice called out from their right, making Team 7 seek out the source. Hinata. Naruko squealed before running and hugging Hinata and wrapping her tails around her. Naruko. Hinata returned the hug, happy to see Naruko, who she sees as her best friend. Naruko. Since when did you get into cosplay? Kiba asked, seeing Naruko's ears and tails, finding it rather hot and on Naruko. Kiba, I don't think she is into cosplay. Why? Because they are real and she has had them when I first met her in the academy, Shino responded in a plain tone. He is right, Kiba, they're real. I can tell, a voice said that Naruko didn't recognize, which made Naruko turn to it and it come from Kiba, making her really confused. Really? Kiba asked, looking up to Akamaru that was on top of his head. Shino, you knew. And who else said that it was real? Naruko turned to Shino with wide eyes while releasing Hinata from the hug and trying to find who spoke earlier. Yes, I did, but I never said anything. Why? Because you were hiding them, Shino said with a nod of his head. Wait, can you understand Akamaru? Kiba asked with a raised eyebrow. Huh? Naruko asked, confused. He means me. Can you understand me? The voice said again, which came from Kiba's direction. Yeah, I can understand you, but who is speaking? Naruko asked, a bit confused. Naruko, that was Akamaru, and how can you understand him? Kiba asked, as there was no doubt that she could understand Akamaru. Hinata. Shino and the rest of Team 7 were surprised by Naruko talking to Akamaru. I don't know, I didn't know I could until now, Naruko said looking at Akamaru. Kiba, I don't think she is human, she smells too much like a fox, surely you notice it as well. Akamaru barked out. Naruko, are you secretly an Inuzuka like me? Kiba asked. No, and Akamaru is right, I'm a Hanyou, not human, Naruko said, lowering her voice a bit. Naruko, I also knew about your tales, and like Shino I didn't say anything about them, Hinata said, hugging Naruko. Thank you, Hinata. Naruko thanked, returning the hug. You know, Naruko, we are a lot more open-minded than the rest of the villagers, another very familiar voice said from behind Naruko. Shika. Naruko exclaimed happily. Of course you're here caught up in this troublesome exam, Shikamaru sighed. This just got a lot more troublesome with you in it, Shikamaru mumbled, but loud enough for them to hear. Looks like we are all here, the rookie 9, yay, I like it, Kiba said with a grin. Sasuke-kun. Ino squealed and latched onto Sasuke from behind and hugging him. Hey, get off me, Sasuke complained. Aw, don't you miss me? Ino said in a cute voice. Ino, get your hands off him, Naruko said, walking up to Sasuke and freeing him from Ino and wrapping all of her tails around Sasuke and pulling him into a side hug. Why should I? Ino asked in a challenging voice. Because they are dating Ino Buddha, now leave them alone. Sakura shot back with a tick mark on her head, defending for Naruko. Ino sent a very hard glare to Naruko, who brushed it off, not caring in the least. You guys should keep it down, you making people get agitated, another voice called out. The rookie 9 all turned eyes to the voice. This person was about 5 or 6 years older than them. He has silver long hair tied in a ponytail and black eyes. He is wearing a Konoha headband and glasses. He is also wearing a light brown short-sleeved shirt with a purple sleeveless vest with a light brown cloth around his waist, using it as a makeshift belt. To complete the outfit, he is wearing purple pants and black shinobi sandals. Naruko immediately went on guard and growled a bit loudly, as this guy reeked of snakes just like Orochimaru did. Sasuke, Shino, Kiba and Shikamaru heard the growl from Naruko that was aimed at this strange guy, which also got them on guard, as Naruko isn't one to do something like this. You guys just came out the academy, right? This isn't a picnic, you know, the guy said. Who the hell do you think you are? Ino said, already hating this guy. Kabuto, but forget me, look behind you, Kabuto said, pointing in their direction. They all turned and saw that the whole room was glaring at them hard and releasing their killing intent, trying to scare them. Sakura, Ino and Hinata gulped, feeling the effects of the killing intent. Sakura turned to Naruko and saw that she was shaking slightly. Naruko's scared, Sakura thought. Kurama, mind helping me here bit? Naruko asked Kurama. Let's see who pisses themselves, Kurama said with a grin. The rookie 9 suddenly felt the killing intent on them stopping, and was replaced with Naruko's growling, which is loud enough for the whole room to hear. Oi shitheads, off! Naruko growled in her demonic voice while her eyes flashed red and releasing a lot of killing intent, instantly making a lot of people start to sweat and almost shit themselves at the voice and killing intent coming off of Naruko. Gaara and his siblings smirked at Naruko's reaction, while Lee and his team felt the full effects from Naruko. Lee wasn't sure what to think of Naruko after pulling that off, while Ten became quite scared of Naruko. Tough Neji remained unfazed by it. Like I said, troublesome, Shikamaru said, shaking his head. Holy shit, remind me not to piss you off, Kiba said, hearing Naruko's voice and feeling quite intimidated. Well, that was your first. My first time didn't work out so well, Kabuto said. Is this your second time? Ino asked Kabuto. No, it's my 7th. This is held twice a year and this is my 4th year, Kabuto explained. So you must know a lot about this? Sakura asked. I doubt that. You must suck if you have failed so many times, Naruko deadpanned. Maybe, but I do have info cards, Kabuto said while showing a deck of cards. Info cards? Sakura asked, a little confused. Yes, using my chakra I have created cards on all the ninjas attending this. Here, let me show you, Kabuto said, crouching down and placing a card on the ground before sending his chakra into it. A few seconds later, the card poofed and a map of the elemental nation appeared along with a graph underneath it on the card. This has the number of attendants and a breakdown of what country they are from, Kabuto explained. 30 teams from Sunagakur no Sato, 21 from Omegakure no Sato, 6 from Kusagakur no Sato, 6 from Takigakure no Sato, 7 from Konohagakure no Sato, and even though they're a new village, Otogakure no Sato have sent one team, Kabuto explained. Do you have info on individuals? Sasuke asked. Yes, I do. They aren't perfect, but I do. So who do you want info on? Kabuto asked. Hyuga Neji and Rock Lee, Sasuke said. Uzumaki Naruko, Kiba added, making Naruko look at Kiba. Oh, so you know their names? Kabuto asked while removing 3 cards from the list and placing on the ground with a picture and stats of the people on them. Hyuga Neji. Teammates Rock Lee and 1010, and their sensei is Maida Guy. 28D rank and 16C rank missions. Like you guys, this is their first time doing the exam. Neji is very talented in taijutsu, ninjutsu is unknown, and genjutsu is unknown. Considered as the prodigy of the Hyuga clan. Has the title, Rookie of the Year, for his age group. Kabuto explained what was on the card. Rock Lee, all team and mission stats are the same. Taijutsu has greatly increased over the last year, has no talent in ninjutsu or taijutsu and not much else, Kutubo told them about Lee. Uzumaki Naruko, teammates Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura under the sensei Hatake Kakashi. 40D rank, 1C rank, 1B rank, 3A rank missions. Impressive. What the 1S rank mission? How did you get that? Kabuto asked. The rest of the rookie 9 were really surprised except for Team 7. The last mission my team was on was ranked S ranked, Naruko said, not going to give more on it. Why am I not surprised? Shikamaru said, shaking his head. And your states are impressive, highly talented in ninjutsu and taijutsu is quite high. Though you have no talent in genjutsu. And there are a few additional notes here. Extremely high chakra and stamina levels, strength is close to that of Tsunade Hime and is very fast, Kabuto told what as on the card. So it's not that I suck, it's just that there are a lot of exceptional ninjas here, Kabuto said, putting his cards away and standing up. He knows a lot, kid, and his scent is just like that other snake bastard. You must keep a very close eye on him, I can sense evil from this guy, Kurama warned. Yeah, I know. He knows way too much for any genin, no matter how many times they've done this, Naruko replied back to Kurama. Naruko and Sasuke saw 3 people rushing to Kabuto but didn't react, wanting to see what they plan was, while Naruko also wanted to prove something. A ninja, with a weird metal thing on his arm with holes in it, went right for Kabuto. The ninja is wearing a fur cloak and his face is covered in bandages, only leaving his left eye visible. The ninja took a wide swing at Kabuto, who managed to jump back in time to dodge the attack. Few seconds late, his glasses cracked and he buckled over while holding back the urge to throw up. As soon as the attack finished, Naruko had to close her eyes and ears as she heard a loud piercing whistle and made her a bit dizzy in the process. Ah, my ears, Naruko said, rubbing her ears. Poof. Thanks for waiting. I am Morino Ibiki, the examiner for the Chunin selection exam's first test, a voice said as group of Konoha Chunin and Jonin appeared in a poof of smoke. Listen well. There will be no unauthorized fighting, and even if permission is given, killing will not be tolerated. You got that, Otonin? Ibiki said. Yes, sorry about that, we are just very excited for this exam, the Otonin said. The pigs who disobey me will fail immediately, got that? Ibiki said with cold dead eyes, scaring a few people. Let's start the exam. Each of you will be given a number and you will sit at your corresponding number, then we will hand out the exam, Ibiki explained. Ah, come on, a paper test. Really? Naruko complained while Sakura tried to reassure Naruko. Good luck, Naru-chan. Sasuke said before bringing Naruko in for a kiss and held it until they were out of breath. Sakura and Hinata blushed hard while Ino also blushed but was very jealous and mumbling about how unfair it was. Come on you lovebirds, get to your sits, Ibiki said trying to break them apart. Good luck Sasuke-kun, Naruko said flattering, her eyes open from the kiss. Minus 20 minutes later. While the tests are being handed out I will explain the rules, Ibiki said, once everyone settled and got to their seats, while turning around and writing the rules on the board. Rules. A voice called out. Yes, rules, now shut up and listen, Ibiki said. Damn, why did it have to be a stupid test? Naruko complained again. Naruko, let's do our best, Hinata said softly, who was sitting next to Naruko. Hinata. At least I'm not alone. Sure, let's do this thing, Naruko exclaimed. Rule 1. You will start off with 10 points. Every question you get wrong you will lose a point. So if you get 2 wrong you get 8 points, or if you get 5 wrong you get 5 points, Ibiki explained the first rule. Second rule. This is a team test, so whether you pass will determine on your team's combined score. So each team which competes can hold on to from the initial team score of 30, Ibiki explained. What? Why is this a team test? Someone shouted out. Shut it. You don't have the right to question me. There is a reason for this, so be quiet and listen, Ibiki replied back in an authoritative voice. No questions, and what are with these rules? Sakura thought. The most important rule. Anyone caught cheating by the testing officials will have their points deducted by 2 for every offense, Ibiki explained. And the final rule. Those that lose all their initial points will fail along with their 2 teammates, Ibiki said, making a few people shout out and complain. Naruko dropped her head on the desk. This was not going well. She was pretty sure if she wasn't as close to her teammates like she was, they would no doubt want to kill her right now. Shut it. The exam lasts for 1 hour. Begin, Ibiki said, starting the exam. Naruko read over the questions and realized that she couldn't answer any of them, and she even made sure to study during her training sessions. Naruko started to freak out when half an hour had passed by. Naruko figured out the test 10 minutes in, but she didn't know how to pull it off. I know that the whole point of this is to cheat and gather information without being caught, but I don't have anything. Sasuke-kun has his Sharingan. Sakura is smart and will no doubt get this. Kiba has Akamaru, but he is too far away for me to hear. Hinata has her Byakugan, Naruko thought. I know I have Yukurama, but I need to do this on my own. Should I bet everything on this last question? Naruko debating whether she should bet it all on the last question that is supposed to be told 45 minutes in. One by one, team after team were told to leave the room for failing the first exam. Hinata offered to show Naruko her paper, which Naruko was going to take a look but didn't due to the kunai that went flying past her head. The guy right behind ended up being thrown out the room as he challenged Ibiki, saying that they didn't know what they were doing. This stopped Naruko from getting Hinata and their teams in trouble. Naruko noted that it was time for the final question. So you finished playing with your doll? Ibiki said. Naruko turned and saw Kankuro entering the room, with a test official behind him, with wide eyes at being caught. Bah! Just sit down, it's time for the last question, Ibiki said, bringing relief to Kankuro. Before I give the last question, there is one last rule that comes with the question, Ibiki said, making a few raise an eyebrow. Last rule. A few people called. Yes, now pay attention. You must decide whether you take the question or not, Ibiki said, confusing everyone. What happens if we don't take it? Tamari shouted out. You fail, which means so does your team, Ibiki said coldly. Of course we will take the question, Kiba shouted out. And now for the rule. If you choose to take it and that person answers it incorrectly, that person will lose the right to take the Chunin selection exam again, Ibiki said, making a lot of eyes go wide before some people outraged at it. What kind of bullshit is this? There are guys who have taken this exam more than once. Kiba shouted angrily at Ibiki. Ha 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 ha. Ibiki laughed. Well, you guys are the unlucky ones. This year it's my rules. But I am giving you a way out. You can choose to leave now and take the test again next year, Ibiki said with a cold glare. So if one of your teammates refuses to take the question, your whole team fails, but if you take it and get it wrong, you will be a genin forever. Naruko, you must be stressing right now, Sasuke thought while looking at Naruko. Oh shit, what do I do? Naruko thought, starting to freak out. At this point, one person decided to leave, which made a lot more leave. Naruko, you no doubt struggled to answer these questions. Hell, I couldn't answer shit on my own. I know our promise is to do our best in this exam, but I won't let my greed of wanting to be promoted be at the cost of you dream. Sasuke thought. You are no doubt thinking of us at this point. Naruko, your only dream is to be accepted by this village and to become Hokage. Sorry Naruko, but I won't let your dream get crushed, Sasuke thought, starting to raise his hand. Naruko, you have always been there for me even after I treated you like shit during the academy. You've become my best friend. Forgive me Naruko, but I will protect your dream, Sakura thought, also starting to raise her hand. Both Sasuke and Sakura were shocked and surprised to see Naruko's hand go up high into the air. Naruko, you, both Sasuke and Sakura thought at the same time with wide eyes. Slam. Screw your rule. I will take the question, I won't run away and I won't go back on my word. Even if I remain a genin, I will still find a way to become Hokage Dadbao. Naruko said after standing up and slamming her hand on the desk. I will say again, fail and you will remain a genin. Can you live like that for the rest of your life? Ibiki asked Naruko. I won't run away. I follow my unbending words, that is my ninja way. Naruko said with smirk and confidence, which brought a smile to Sasuke and Sakura's face, while Sasuke shook his head, feeling bad for ever doubting Naruko. Hinata's eyes went wide at Naruko's declaration and really started to envy Naruko. The rest of the people in the room eyes went wide at Naruko's determination and also were determined to take the question no matter the cost. Shikamaru and Choji also smirked at Naruko's stunt, while Lee gained great respect for Naruko's bright shining youthfulness, as he put it. Ibiki looked around the room and saw that all the remaining people all had confident smirks on their faces, and even the test officials had smiles on their faces. She really is an interesting one. She has blasted everyone's fears and doubt away. She will be a force to be reckoned with, Ibiki thought while looking at Naruko, who was looking right back at him. If no one else is going to leave, then all I have left say to you is, well done to the 26 teams left, you all passed the first exam, Ibiki said, confusing a lot of people. Huh, what? A lot of people called out. What happened to the 10th question? Sakura asked. There was no such thing, or rather you could say that the choice was the 10th question, Ibiki said with a smile, completely changing his personality. Then what were the first 9 questions for? Tamari burst out. They served their purpose. They were there to test you information gathering skills in a stressful environment. A lot of you must have quickly gathered that you couldn't answer any of the questions, so you had to resort to cheating, Ibiki explained. Those that were caught cheating failed naturally. Information is more important than life, and on a mission people will risk their lives to get it. If you get caught or noticed, there is no guarantee that the information will be accurate, Ibiki said while taking his bandana off and showing the burn marks on scars on his bald head. A lot of people were shocked to see this and were quite disgusted by it. Remember, this people will do anything to get information, as it is a very powerful weapon for your village. Those that got caught cheating don't have the right to be here, Ibiki lectured. As for the 10th question, it was a take or not take question. Choose not to take it, you fail but can try again next year, or choose it and you risk losing the right to become Chunin, a true leap of faith, Ibiki said after putting his bandana back on. Say you become Chunin as your team is giving the mission to steal a scroll. You don't know anything about the enemy. Their numbers, abilities and locations are all unknown to you, and of course there could be traps, Ibiki set out a scenario. Do you choose to accept the mission or not accept it? Can you avoid this mission, the death of you comrades? The answer is no, you can't avoid a mission like this. The ability to be courageous and survive any hardships is the ability need to become a Chunin captain, Ibiki continued his lecture. Those pieces of trash that rely on the fact that there is a next year and walk away for another chance have no right to be here. That's how I feel, Ibiki explained. As soon as Ibiki finished, something come crashing in through the side window in front of the class. Instantly a banner with the name Mitarashi Anko on it opened up and was pinned to the ceiling with a pair of kunais. Anko stood in front of the banner with a smirk on her face while Ibiki appeared from behind the banner. I am Mitarashi Anko, the examiner for the second exam. Anko shouted out. You need to learn to read the atmosphere, Ibiki said, shaking his head. This examiner is Naruko-ish, Sakura deadpanned with a sweat drop behind her head. God damn, it's that crazy lady. Naruko thought loudly in her mind. Quote. Oi Ibiki, there are 26 teams left. Your test must have been way too easy, Anko said with a tick mark while looking at Ibiki. No, this year has a lot of talent, Ibiki replied back, unfazed by Anko. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I will just have to cut them down by half at least, Anko said with a grin. In half? Sakura thought with a raised eyebrow. Listen, you maggots, report to training ground 44 tomorrow at 0900 hour sharp. If you late, you will fail before the second exam even starts, Anko said. The room quickly emptied before Anko left herself. Ibiki started to collect the papers around the room. He come to Sakura's paper and was a bit surprised. I know for a fact that this girl didn't cheat, and yet she answered all the questions correctly. She is already smarter than most Chunin, Ibiki thought before moving on and arriving to Naruko's paper, which made his eyes go wide. She actually passed with a blank paper. She really is an interesting person. No wonder why the daimyo choose her, Ibiki thought, remembering that Naruko was requested to look after the daimyo's daughter a while back. Ibiki smirked before leaving the room, thinking that with no doubt Naruko will turn the world upside. Naruko walked into her home and saw Kakashi sitting on the chair and reading his usual orange book, making Naruko roll her eyes. Walking in, she took off her sandals before going and taking a seat next to Kakashi. So how did the exam go? Kakashi asked while still reading his book. Strange, but we passed the first test, Naruko said, releasing a sigh and leaning back into the chair. I heard that Ibiki was the examiner. Hope he didn't cause too much emotional damage. He tends to do that, Kakashi said, knowing what Ibiki was like. Maybe it's just me, but he didn't seem that bad. I was more worried about answering the impossible questions, which turns out were a waste of time, Naruko said with a pout. Yay, it is most likely just you. I doubt they were a waste. Ibiki isn't one to do something without a reason, Kakashi said while turning a page. There was a reason, rather long one, but it still didn't do much. Hey Kakashi, ni where is training ground 44? Naruko dismissed before asking a question. 44. So you are going there? It's on the west side of the village, about a mile out, Kakashi said, looking at Naruko and telling her where it is before going back to reading. I guess you aren't going to say anything more, are you? Naruko asked with a raised eyebrow. Nope, I don't want to ruin the surprise, Kakashi replied, making Naruko pout, to which Kakashi just laughed in return. That's no fun. Well, night, I'm going to bed, Naruko pouted before yawning and heading for bed. Night, you better enjoy the warm bed, Kakashi said, making Naruko turn around with a raised eyebrow. Naruko just shrugged and walking into her room. Kurama, mind if I wake up early tomorrow so I can try that new thing of ours again? Naruko asked Kurama while climbing into bed. Sure kid, but you already have it done, Kurama replied. Yeah, I know, but I just want to make sure and try combine it with my K's no Yoroi, Naruko said to Kurama. Just don't try to break anything this time, will you? Kurama said, making Naruko mumble about how it wasn't her fault. Next day training ground 44. It's a forest. A forest. Naruko deadpanned when she got to training ground 44 with her team. It's a freaky forest, Sakura corrected Naruko. Right, listen up, Anko said loudly while standing on a large rock getting everyone's attention. This is the location for your second exam, training ground 44, also known as the Forest of Death, Anko said with a smirk. This place has a 10-mile radius, and at the center of it is a large tower. There are 44 entrances to the training ground. The forest is filled with many large animals, bugs and plants, so you better watch yourselves, Anko said in a tone that scared most people. Please, it's just a forest. I grew up in one, Naruko said, plainly not seeing what the big deal is. As soon as Naruko finished, she used her tail to catch the kunai that was sent flying towards her and stopped it just before it could cut her. Naruko turning her head slightly and saw Anko leaning on her with an arm around Naruko's shoulder. It's the ones like you that die first, Anko said, licking her lips, freaking Naruko out slightly. You know well enough that nothing in there will have the balls to come near me, let alone attack me, Naruko responded with a smirk. Sakura and Sasuke were wondering what she meant by that. It's not your typical forest. Most humans don't even dare to enter the forest, Anko said in sweet voice, which continued to reassure Naruko that this lady really is crazy. And I'm not your typical ninja, and I'm not human, and everything in there all know it, Naruko said while using her tail to return the kunai to Anko. I'd keep this, but I won't need it, Naruko said, showing her fingers which had claw-like nails on it. You are no fun, Anko said with a pout while taking and putting her kunai away before reappearing back on the rock. Right, as I was saying. This place is filled with deadly things, and your goal is to get to the tower with these, Anko said, taking out 2 scrolls, one white with the kanji for heaven on it and the other brown with the kanji for earth on it. Each team will only get one of these. Your objective is to reach the tower with an earth scroll and a heaven scroll. Naturally anything goes, so you will need to sign these. These papers are saying that we are not being held responsible for any deaths that may occur, Anko said, holding a form in her other hand. You will have 5 days to reach the tower. You will stay in there for the full time, so giving up won't do anything. If you fail to reach the tower in time with both scrolls and your entire team, you will fail. If a teammate is unable to reach the tower under their own means, you will fail, Anko explained. You are not allowed to open the scrolls unless inside the tower, Anko added an additional rule. What happens if we do? Someone shouted out. Why don't you find out for yourself? I don't want to ruin the surprise, Anko said in a sweet voice, scaring a fair amount of people. After reading the form, go to the stand to sign and exchange your form for a scroll and report to your allocated starting point, Anko said while Naruko took a form and passed the stack of papers on to the next person. 10 minutes later, Team 7 handed in their forms and got a heaven scroll before reporting to Gate 33. Gate 33. So what's the plan for this? Sasuke asked, looking at Naruko. Well, I have 2 ideas. The first one is head for the tower right away and wait to ambush someone. The other is to wait until nightfall and ambush a resting team before heading to the tower, Naruko said, thinking that's what would be best to do. I think we should head for the tower unless you pick up a scent of another team, Sasuke said, and Naruko nodded in agreement. Naruko, will you take us to the tower so we can get there quicker? Sakura asked. Yay, good idea, and you can save your strength for when you need it, Naruko nodded at Sakura's suggestion. Suddenly a bang came from the forest and the gates opened. Naruko made a bunshin before both Naruko's shape shifted into a fox. Sasuke climbed onto the original while Sakura climbed onto the bunshin before Naruko, and the bunshin bolted into the forest. Naruko would normally go at full speed, but this time she only went about 30% of her speed, so she can pick up scents to follow if she picked one up. About 4 miles into the forest, Naruko stopped running before taking a few sniffs, moving a bit and taking a few more sniffs. Naruko, do you smell something? Sasuke asked while both he and Sakura got off Naruko. Yes, I do, and it's heading right for us and has been for the last mile, Naruko said while dispelling the Bunshin, and Sakura walked up to Naruko and Sasuke. Team 7 went on high alert as someone might be following them. Naruko heard a loud crashing sound heading towards them. She gasped and reacted quickly when she saw a large strong gush of wind heading towards them. Naruko partly changed into her Biju form and grew 4 tails before all 9 tails grew to full size. Naruko used her tails to cover her and her team, forming a large dome around them. Sakura and Sasuke were confused as to what Naruko was doing. I think it's an attack, Naruko said, explaining what was going on before grunting from the impact. After Naruko felt that the possible attack had subsided, her tails shrunk while 4 of them retracted back into her. Naruko and her team looked around and saw that all the trees in a straight line had been ripped from the ground and others were completely destroyed. This had to have been an attack, Sasuke said, looking at the damage. Yes, it is. Hey, come out, I know you are there, Naruko shouted, looking at a specific tree. A ninja with long black hair jumped down. He was wearing similar clothes that the Otonin wear but had a large purple rope around his waist, wearing it as a belt. Ho, you managed to find me, I'm impressed, the ninja said. I noticed you following us a mile back, Naruko said before seeing the symbol and noted that this was a Kusanin. Naruko took a few more sniffs before growling very aggressively and getting ready for a fight. Sasuke and Sakura also got ready for a fight after hearing Naruko growling like that. Orochimaru. Naruko growled. Kukukuku, so you know who I am? Orochimaru asked, peeling off his skin and showing his true pale face. That is really gross. And yes, I know who you are. I remember your scent from the last time, Naruko continued to growl while Sasuke and Sakura tensed slightly. Sasuke, Sakura formation E, Naruko told them softly. I don't think this is a good idea, we are no match against him, Sasuke responded back just as quiet. I know that, but he is clearly after us. We have to do something, Naruko replied soft, to which Sasuke nodded in return. Why are you here? What do you want? Sasuke asked. Kukuku, I am here for you and I want you, Orochimaru replied, looking at Sasuke with a creepy look, making Sasuke cringe a bit. What the? Sorry, but I don't swing that way. Why would you want me? Sasuke shot back. I don't want you for that, you imprudent child. You are the last Uchiha, so that makes you very valuable for my plans. What do you say, boy? Join me and I will give you power like no one else can. Power to kill your brother, Orochimaru purposed, making Sakura look at Sasuke. Sasuke, don't, Sakura said in a slightly panicking voice. No, I don't need your help or your power, Sasuke shot back, making Naruko smile towards Sasuke. No, don't you want to seek out revenge for what he did and the way you are now? You stand no chance against him, Orochimaru asked, hoping to entice the anger within Sasuke. I do want revenge, but I have more important things on my mind and Itachi isn't one of them. And I know I don't stand a chance against him now, but who says I'm going after him right now? Sasuke replied. Over past few weeks Sasuke has been slowly letting go of his hatred and he has Naruko to happily thank for that. That's my Sasuke-kun. I'm proud of you, really proud, Naruko thought while looking at Sasuke with a smile full of pride. Ho, more important things you say. I wonder what will happen if they were to disappear, Orochimaru said, sending a glance to Naruko which made Sasuke freeze and start to panic a bit. Naruko could sense that Sasuke was scared that something might happen to her. Naruko walked up to Sasuke and placed a hand on his shoulder and softly squeezed his shoulder to try and reassure him. Sasuke turned slightly towards Naruko and gave her a soft small smile. Naruko felt Sasuke calm down a bit and returned a small smile to Sasuke. She walked past Sasuke to stand in front of him and gave Orochimaru a hard cold start. Orochimaru casually brushed it off while watching Naruko get into a stance along with the rest of her team. You guys know what to do, Naruko said, earning a nod from her before charging at Orochimaru and quickly reappearing right in front of him. Naruko threw a straight left aiming to hit Orochimaru in the face. Orochimaru tilted his head to the side away from Naruko, letting the punch sail past his face. Naruko growled softly in annoyance before pulling her arm back in and spinning clockwise while leaning forward and extending her right foot out. Naruko span around and aimed her kick at Orochimaru's head. Orochimaru ducked under the kick with a smirk on his face. Naruko sailed over Orochimaru and came skidding to a halt a few meters behind Orochimaru, looking towards him. Not bad, brat. If only it was someone other than me. Kukukuku, Orochimaru said while turning around before chuckling near the end with a smirk on his face. Naruko responded by charging back in with a fierce determination but smirked when she saw Sakura wasn't there. When Naruko reached Orochimaru, she jumped up while bringing her left knee up towards his chin. Orochimaru leaned back a bit, avoiding the attack before having to duck to avoid a kick from Naruko. When Naruko's knee passed Orochimaru's chin, she spun her body clockwise while extending her right foot and still leaving her left knee pressed against her chest. Naruko did a 360 midair with her foot extended, which sailed over Orochimaru's head, who just ducked to avoid the kick. When Naruko landed on the ground, she landed in a crouched position and continued to spin around in a clockwise motion with her left knee against her chest and her right foot extended out. Orochimaru was forced to jump over the low attack, aiming to sweep his legs from under him. Naruko continued her spinning while standing up on her left leg and retracting her right foot and pressing her knee against her chest. Naruko, leaving her upper body parallel to the ground, stopped her spinning so she was facing sideways to Orochimaru before kicking her right foot out and hitting Orochimaru hard in the chest. Orochimaru had just landed on the ground when he got kicked in the chest and was sent skidding back several meters. Now Sasuke, Naruko shouted out while going through 5 hand seals. Sasuke smirked seeing Naruko prepare a jutsu and went through a set of hand seals of his own. Futon. Datappa, Naruko called out before releasing a large gush of wind from her mouth. Kaden. Gokaku no Jutsu. Sasuke called out, releasing his largest fireball yet from his mouth shortly after Naruko shot out her attack. The two attacks collided with each other while Orochimaru was trapped in between the attack. Naruko's wind attack fueled Sasuke's fire attack, allowing it to burn at a much higher intensity, sending the flame high into the sky. The fire left behind from the attack quickly died down, leaving nothing but a black scorch mark on the ground where the two attacks hit. Naruko was still on guard as she knew something like that wouldn't kill Orochimaru. Sakura jumped down from her position up in the trees and landed next to Sasuke. Did we get him? Sasuke asked while all three were looking around for Orochimaru. I need to get Sasuke and Sakura to the tower, Naruko thought, looking at her two teammates. Naruko created 2 bunchins which ran to Sasuke and Sakura. When the bunchins touched Sasuke and Sakura, they used a shunshin to get them out the area, leaving no room for argument. Naruko got one of the bunchins' memory telling her that they were about 2 miles away from the tower. It doesn't matter how far he goes, I will still get to him. After all, you still need a scroll to enter the tower, Orochimaru said while oozing out from a tree and taking a solid form. I sent my team away so I don't have to worry about them getting in the way and getting hurt, Naruko said, turning to face the snake Sannin. Kukukuku. And you think you can take me alone, do you? Orochimaru said with a laugh. We'll just have to find out, Naruko said, calming down. In a battle of pure strength and speed I won't win this fight, so I will be doing what I do best, Naruko said with a smirk while taking out 2 kunais, holding one in each hand. Kukuku. And what would that be? Orochimaru asking while watching Naruko preparing to charge in. Why don't you find out for yourself? Naruko said before charging in again. When Naruko closed the distance by half, she threw one of the kunais at Orochimaru's head and the other one up into the air towards Orochimaru. Orochimaru was a little confused as both kunais weren't meant for him. Naruko smirked when Orochimaru's attention was on her and not the kunai that sailed past his head. As soon as the kunai passed Orochimaru, it shape-shifted into Naruko and quickly charged at Orochimaru before diving feet first onto the ground and sliding towards Orochimaru's feet. As the sliding Naruko hit a very surprised Orochimaru from behind, the original Naruko had just passed Orochimaru. The original Naruko raised her right foot up high so her leg was against her body before bringing back down and hitting Orochimaru in the face with the back of her heel. When Orochimaru's head hit the ground, a small crate formed from the blow. Instead of Orochimaru's head being turned into paste, it splattered into mud along with the rest of his body. Shortly after, another Naruko landed in between the two Narukos on the ground. "What the?" the Naruko that just landed asked. Naruko growled softly before dispelling the two bunchins, leaving Naruko with her foot in the ground where Orochimaru's head should have been. She pulled her foot out the ground before taking a few sniffs of the air to locate Orochimaru. Naruko snapped her head around and saw another Orochimaru oozing out from the tree before solidifying and licking his lips. Cuckoo. If only that was the original me. You are not the only one who likes to play find the original me, Orochimaru said with a small chuckle which earned a low growl from Naruko. You really are just a sly snake, Naruko growled back at Orochimaru. Says the fox, Orochimaru shot back in a playfully voice. Naruko then charged back in while cocking her left arm back and making a fist. When Naruko reached Orochimaru, she lunged her fist at his face and smirked when he started to dodge the attack, confusing Orochimaru. Naruko's arm suddenly changed into a giant red furry arm. Thanks to Naruko's giant arm, she connected her fist into Orochimaru's face, sending him flying through several trees. Naruko vanished and reappeared in Orochimaru's flight path before turning her right arm into a giant red furry arm. Naruko cupped her hands together while holding them above her head before swinging it down and hammering Orochimaru in the face, who just reached Naruko. The force from Naruko's attack forced air out and away from Naruko, creating a mini shockwave. Orochimaru's head hit the ground hard face down and created a crater several times bigger than his head. What happened next though confused Naruko as Orochimaru deflated and shriveled. Naruko's arms returned back to normal before she picked up the deflated Orochimaru and gave a few sniffs in confusion. Smells like him, but what the is this? Naruko asked, still confused. While Naruko was still holding the deflated Orochimaru, she jumped back, dodging an attack that come from below. A not-so-deflated Orochimaru jumped out the ground with his neck extended beyond any human lengths. Orochimaru landed on the ground while his neck returned to normal. Naruko didn't quite know how to react to this but still showed a mix of confusion, disgust and amazement. Just what the hell are you? Naruko asked with a frown. I could ask the same of you, Orochimaru replied, also wondering what Naruko is. Naruko responded by getting into a stance while trying to think of a way out of this. Orochimaru didn't get into a stance, but Naruko could see that he was more aware and on guard this time. I'll admit that it's been a long while since someone has made me get a bit serious, Orochimaru said while licking his lips. But as much as I would love to play, I have more important things which seek my attention, Orochimaru continued. Leave Sasuke-kun alone. You will not touch him, Naruko said with a growl while her eyes flashed red. Cuckoo. Oh, don't worry, there is plenty of time, but for now it can wait, Orochimaru said before melting into the ground and disappearing without a trace. Naruko remained on guard for a few minutes while taking a few occasional sniffs. She relaxed slightly when she couldn't smell Orochimaru before shape-shifting into her fox form. Naruko quickly got her team scent and followed it, traveling near full speed. With Sasuke and Sakura 2 miles out from the tower. When Naruko got close to her team, she could hear fighting just ahead of her. Naruko jumped into the air before shape-shifting into her human form and landing on a tree branch to see what was going on. Naruko saw that Sasuke and Sakura were engaged with a dozen ninjas all wearing the same thing. They were all wearing a gray full-body wetsuit with a breathing mask over their mouths, leaving some with only their eyes visible and others completely covered. Naruko, seeing the symbol, saw that they were from Kurigakure. Each ninja that Sasuke and Sakura hit turned into a black ink-type liquid, from what Naruko could see, and was replaced with another ninja. This continued for a few more minutes while Naruko observed and tried to find the original ninjas. It didn't take Naruko long to find the culprits, and with a smirk Naruko shifted into her fox form. Naruko snuck up behind the unsuspecting ninjas who were behind a bush crouching while watching their illusion tire out Sasuke and Sakura. Naruko didn't give the three ninjas any chance to react or counterattack. Using a tail for each ninja, Naruko hit them on the back of the neck, completely knocking them out. Naruko shifted back into her human form before using her tails to drag the unconscious ninjas with her. Sakura and Sasuke were confused as to why all the illusion suddenly disappeared, but quickly went on guard when they heard rustling of leaves behind them. Naruko walked out from behind a bush with a smirk on her face, but Sakura and Sasuke refused to drop their guard. "Did you really have a hard time with these guys?" Naruko asked while throwing three unconscious ninjas in front of her and letting her tails wave casually from side to side behind her. "If you really are Naruko, then you should know what to say," Sasuke replied, still keeping his guard up. "A team now. A team tomorrow. A team for life," Naruko said with a sigh. Sasuke and Sakura relaxed while putting their kunais away and walking up to Naruko. "What happened with Orochimaru?" Sasuke asked with an emotionless face. "Not entirely sure, he sort of just left saying that there is plenty of time," Naruko replied, not sure herself. "Sasuke-kun helped me search them for their scroll," Naruko asked while walking up to a ninja and searching them. Naruko looked up when Sasuke didn't respond but saw that he was doing as told. Naruko saw that he had his old emotionless face look and wondered what was wrong. "I found the scroll, but it's a heaven scroll," Sasuke said plainly while standing up with the scroll in his hand. "Alright. We should keep it. Apart from eliminating two teams we might need later," Naruko said, flinching a bit at Sasuke's emotionless tone. "We still need to find an earth scroll. We should head for the tower seeing as we are nearly there," Sasuke replied while turning around to face the tower that is in view. "Why, yay, I guess," Naruko said, flinching again while really wondering what's going on. "Hey Sasuke," Naruko said with a slightly worry in her voice. Sasuke only responded by turning to face Naruko. "What's wrong? Why you acting like your old self?" Naruko asked while looking down, not be able to keep contact with Sasuke's emotionless face. "Don't have time for this. This can wait till after this test," Sasuke replied before turning around and heading for the tower. Naruko just softly nodded in response before following Sasuke and Sakura. Naruko took point when she caught up and led her team to the tower while trying to find any other sense. When Team 7 got to the tower, they saw Hinata, Kiba and Shino walking into the tower. They saw that there were two doors next to each other that leads into the tower. Naruko was very surprised to see Team 8 enter the tower so early on in this test. Naruko and her team got themselves into position and waited for the next team to make their way to the tower. It was only 3 hours later that a team finally appeared. The team was from Konoha that was at most 3 years older than Naruko and her team. Naruko gave the signal to spring the trap. Sakura threw a bunch of kunais with explosive tags on them. The ninjas were forced to scatter to avoid the explosion, which never came. The three ninjas were confused as to why duds would be thrown. Naruko quickly knocked out the closest ninja to her from behind, making the other two ninjas bolt over to their down teammate. When they reached the down teammate, they saw a burning tag on his back. One of them quickly reacted and removed the tag before stepping on it and putting it out. Sakura jumped down from a tree and landed near the ninjas. I'm over here, Sakura called out, getting the two ninjas' attention. You bitch. You'll pay for that, one of the ninjas shouted out while he charged in with his teammate. When they reached Sakura, they both took a swing at her, hitting her in the face and stomach. Sakura gave a smirk before disappearing in a poof of smoke, confusing the two ninjas. What the? One of them shouted out in surprise. Sasuke jumped down from a tree right behind them before spinning clockwise and roundhouse kicking the ninja on the left. The ninja was sent flying into his teammate and knocking them down to the ground. The ninja Sasuke kicked was knocked out, leaving only one of them left to deal with. Naruko jumped down from a tree while Sakura appeared from behind a bush, and both walked up to the ninja still lying on the ground while Sasuke collected the last ninja. Give us your scrolls. You are outnumbered and outmatched, Naruko commanded with a grin while Sasuke returned with the last ninja and placing him near his two teammates. Here, take it. Just let us go, the only conscious ninja replied while reaching into his teammate's back pouch and taking out both of their scrolls. Of course you can go. I'm not going to hurt or kill you, Naruko said with a soft smile while taking the scrolls and putting them in her back pouch. Team 7 headed towards the door, leaving the ninja to attend to his teammates. When Team 7 reached the door, they opened it and entered the tower. They arrived in a large square room with two balconies on the sides and with corridors above and below both balconies. The wall in front of them had a large poster on it. The poster had a saying that none of them knew what it meant, and it also looked like it had a word missing. Without heaven, without earth. This doesn't make sense, and there is a word missing, Sakura said after reading the poster. I think it has to do with the scrolls. Open them, Sasuke said. Naruko took out a heaven and earth scroll before handing one to Sakura. They both opened them at the same time. Inside the scroll had the kanji for person on it, surrounded by weird symbols. Jin, Hito. Both Sakura and Naruko said at the same time, reading the scroll out loud. Both scrolls started to release smoke from it, making Naruko drop it, followed by Sakura not wanting to hold it anymore. When the scroll hit the floor, a large poof of smoke come out from the scroll. When the smoke cleared, it revealed a smiling Iruka. Iruka-sensei? Naruko asked, surprised by his sudden appearance. Hi, it's me. Well done, you passed the second exam, Iruka said with a smile. Yada! Naruko exclaimed happily while Sakura sighed in relief and Sasuke had a small smile. Sensei, what does that mean? And there seems to be a word missing, Sakura asked while pointing to the poster. Who cares? We passed, Naruko said, not caring about it. I am also here to explain that, Iruka said with a sweat drop. This is the motto of the Chunin exam written by the Hokage-sama, Iruka explained. Motto? Naruko asked. Yes, motto. And the word that was on the scroll goes into the empty space, Iruka said while pointing to where the missing word is. In this paragraph, earth represents the body while heaven represents the mind. If you lack heaven, seek wisdom, be prepared. If you lack earth, run in the fields, seek advantages. These rules will guide a person's extremes, Iruka said, reading out the paragraph. If you lack heaven, seek wisdom, be prepared. For example, if Naruko's weakness is her mind, she must gain knowledge and prepare for missions. If you lack earth, run in the fields, seek advantages. For example, if Sakura's weakness is her stamina, she should continue to train hard, Iruka explained, making Naruko huff and cross her arms and Sakura playfully stick her tongue out at Iruka's examples. Only when you have both heaven and earth will missions become easy and safe. These 5 days test your abilities needed to become a Chunin, Iruka said, finishing his explanation. You guys completed this test with plenty of time to spare. Unfortunately, you will have to remain in this tower until the end of the test. So use the next 5 days to relax and rest, you will need it, Iruka said before disappearing in a swirl of dust and smoke. I'm going to look around a bit, I'll meet you guys later, Sakura said while waving and walking down a corridor. Sasuke-kun, now that this part is over, can you please tell me what's wrong? Naruko asked Sasuke, who still had an emotionless expression. Nothing is wrong. Sasuke-kun, there is something wrong. Please tell me, Naruko said, cutting him off. I am annoyed at what you did earlier today, Sasuke said with a frown on his face. Huh, what I did? Naruko asked, a bit confused. With Orochimaru. You used a shunshin to get us out, leaving you alone with that freak. What the hell were you thinking? Sasuke said, raising his voice in frustration. He was after you. I'm not going to let that freak get to you, and you were in no position to fight. I could feel your hesitation, Naruko shot back, also raising her voice. Of course I hesitated. He is a Sannin, Naruko, a Sannin. I hesitated when I heard what he wanted to do to you. I don't want to lose anyone else, especially you, Sasuke responded with a bit of anger before calming down a bit near the end. I know what he is, that's why I had to get you out and with his attention on me, Naruko replied. You used yourself as bait, what the hell were you thinking? I know you are strong, stronger than any other genin and most chunin in Konoha, but you can't take him by yourself. What happened to us doing this as a team no matter what? Sasuke said, cutting Naruko off and raising his voice again. I know we said to do this as a team, but I had to hold back for fear of hurting you and Sakura. You would have been in the way. Been in the way. So what? Am I not strong enough for you now? I only get in the way. Do you really think so little of? Sasuke shot back in anger, cutting Naruko off. It's not like that, and you know it. He could and would have used Sakura or you, especially you, against me, or use me against you. He is a sly son of bitch who has no conscience and will do anything to get what he wants, Naruko growled in annoyance while cutting off Sasuke. You being alone there is any better. You could have been killed, Naruko, or who knows what. You sent us somewhere far off, which left me knowing that there was nothing I could do. That feeling of being helpless is the worst feeling, and you of all people should know that. Sasuke replied quickly, almost shouting at Naruko. You could have also been killed if you remained there. Sorry for having to put you through that, but I'd rather give my own life than watch you die, Naruko responded while tears started to brim on the edges of her eyes. You're not the only one that feels that way. Sasuke shouted back. Naruko, I was worried sick about you. I couldn't even fight properly, I worried so much. If you die, especially knowing that I could have done something about it, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. You mean too much to me, Sasuke continued to shout while tears started appearing near the end. Naruko's eyes went wide hearing Sasuke say that and seeing tears in his eyes. Sasuke, I know why you did it. I might have done it myself if I was in your shoes. But please don't do that again, Sasuke said softly while wrapping his arms tightly around Naruko, surprising her. Sasuke-kun, I'm sorry I made you worry so much. My only thought was to get Sakura and especially you to safety, Naruko said softly, wrapping her arms and tails around Sasuke. I'm just glad that you're safe and alright, Sasuke replied softly before pulling back and giving Naruko a kiss on the forehead. Sasuke-kun, I want you to understand that I hold great and destructive power within me. And when I say go, I mean go. I had to seriously hold back when you were around while I was fighting Shukaku, Naruko said, looking into Sasuke's eyes. You mean Kyuubi? Sasuke asked, to which Naruko nodded in return. What I meant by you being in the way, I meant, Naruko started off. You were worried that we'd be harmed, Sasuke finished for Naruko. Yes. I can't go all out with you or anyone else around without hurting or even killing them, Naruko said softly, pulling Sasuke back into a tight hug. I understand, Naru-chan, Sasuke replied softly while silently vowing to train as hard as possible so he can be the one to protect Naruko and not be forced to retreat when Naruko goes all out. You know, Sasuke-kun, I am really proud of you. You saying that you have more important things than going after Itachi made me really proud, Naruko said softly, feeling really proud of Sasuke. Thank you Naru-chan, thank you, Sasuke thanked Naruko while hugging her tightly. 5 days later. Over the next 5 days Team 7 relaxed while waiting for the test to come to an end. Naruko learned that Gaara and his team were the first to arrive at the tower and pass. Hinata's team was second and Naruko's team was third. Over the 5 days only 4 more teams made it to the tower. 3 teams from Konoha, Team Asuma, Team Guy and Team Kabuto. The last team to arrive was the only team from Otogakure which seemed to have a grudge or something against Sasuke. The 7 teams were currently standing in rows in large rectangular room with a balcony on both of the longer sides. In the front of the room is a large statue of a ninja from the chest up and hands in the Hitsuji hand seal. In front of the statue were each of the team's Jonin instructor. In front of them is the Hokage with Ibiki, Iruka and 2 other ninjas that Naruko didn't know or recognized. In front of them is Anko with a smirk on her face. In front of Anko a few meters apart stood the Genin participants facing towards the people in front. The Hokage had just finished explaining the true purpose of the Chunin exams. The true purpose of the Chunin exams is a substitute for war between allied countries. The Hokage was just about to explain what was going to happen when another ninja appeared kneeling in front of the Hokage. The ninja asked something that wasn't loud enough for the genin to hear except for Naruko thanks to her hearing. Shortly after the ninja stood up turned to face the genin. The ninja had a Konoha headband that covered most of his black hair. He has black eyes and with thick dark sleeping bags underneath his eyes making him look ill and extremely tired. He is wearing the standard black Jonin uniform with a green utility jacket over his uniform. Hello, I am Hayate. Before the third cough test starts there is something I would like you to do, Hayate said while coughing in between. This guy doesn't look well, is he alright? Naruko thought seeing this man looking rather ill. Cough, it's a preliminary for the third test cough to decide who can participate in the main event, Hayate explained shocking a few people. Preliminary. What do you mean? Shikamaru shouted out. Sensei, I don't understand why aren't all of us here allowed to participate in the next test? Sakura asked shouting out also. Because the cough first and second test may have been too easy this year. We have too many people remaining. According to the rules of the Chunin cough exams we must have a preliminary to reduce the numbers of participants for the third test, Hayate explained. No way, Sakura said softly with a bit of sadness. As the Hokage said cough earlier there will be many guests for the third test. So the fights could take too long and we have cough limited time, Hayate explained. So cough anyway anyone who is not feeling well, or those who don't want to continue after these explanations please step forward cough as the preliminaries will begin immediately, Hayate explained. Oi, why are you asking us if we are fine? Naruko thought sweat dropping at what Hayate said. What right now? Kiba shouted out. I quit, Kabuto said while putting up his hand. Kabuto. Why would he quit now? Naruko thought seeing Kabuto put his hand up. Yukushi Kabuto from Konoha. Cough you may leave now, Hayate said while writing something on a clipboard. Would anyone else like cough to retire? I also forgot to say that from now on the test is individual so you may quit based on your own judgment, Hayate said shortly after Kabuto left the room. So are there no more people retiring? Hayate asked after waiting a few minutes. Now so let's start cough the preliminaries. The preliminaries will consist of one-on-one fights and you will fight as if in a cough real-life confrontation. As there are exactly 20 of you left there will be 10 matches which means only cough half of you can proceed to the main event, Hayate explained after seeing that no one was going to quit. There are no rules. The cough fight continues until one of you dies, gets knocked out or gives up. If you don't want to die then cough give up right away. Because we don't want pointless bloodshed cough I will step in and stop things, Hayate explained further. As soon as Hayate finished, a panel next to the statue opened up and revealed a screen. This will decides who fights who. So let's see who fights first, Hayate said while pointing to the screen. The screen flipped through the names of the participants before suddenly stopping on 2 names. There were a few gasps at the 2 names. The screen read, Choji vs. Shikamaru.